Today's breakfast of champions that I'll be feasting on is some cereal with L's. I got the biblical smackdown laid on me by a YouTuber and it's time to talk about it. This all started yesterday when I made the video, Are React Streamers Bad People? This was a response video to a 14-page document posted by a YouTuber, Dark Viper AU. And today Dark Viper made a response to that video and it started a war, a bloody battle between good and evil, heaven and hell, reactors versus Dark Viper and his community. And I wanted to wait to talk about it further until I could have a conversation directly with him. But I've been getting just a ton of messages from his community and a lot of it's really nasty, horrible shit. So I figured it'd just be better to get ahead of it and hopefully have that conversation with him later. So I'd like to go through his response and talk about it piece by piece. But before really getting into it, as I mentioned in the beginning, I took a bit of an L+ ratio here. There was a lot of things that I got wrong. I've never been afraid to admit that. I've got like fucking 6 videos over the last 4 years where I just outright say, yep, this is what I got wrong, here's what it was. Almost seems like a humiliation fetish at this point, but of course I get things wrong. Everybody does. And I'm not afraid to admit it or die on a hill that is just outright incorrect. And Dark Viper points out things that I got wrong for sure. But it wasn't this malicious misrepresentation of his document or his perspective that he hints that it might have been. Why would I even do that? As I mentioned, Dark Viper is a creator that I liked and respected. What the fuck would I gain from misrepresenting him, someone that I actively like? It'd make no fucking sense.
Moist Critical knows that his video is going to reach far more people than will ever actually read that document. So he has free reign to misrepresent what's in it to 99.99999% of people. He didn't even have the courtesy to link the document so people could fact check him.
Again, I wouldn't misrepresent his points on purpose because it's a guy that I liked. And before he made this video, many people misunderstood his points as well. It wasn't just me. You could go on his own subreddit when this was happening and people were like, yeah, this document was very confusing to me as a fan of Dark Viper. And as someone who liked him, it was confusing to me as well. And I thought I understood your points, but after watching this, I concede I didn't. Now on to the next point where he says I didn't even have the courtesy to link the document directly in the description. This right here is a lose-lose situation. The only way to win is not to play here, because if I did link it, I would get called an asshole for making it easy for people to go dogpile on him. Like, oh, look at Charlie being such a fucking douchebag to put the link right to the document, right to his tweet where people could go fuck him up and be mean to him directly. Because I've had shit like that happen in the past where I would talk about something, not a react video, just a full-blown response video to something, and then there'd be people in the community that would go and just be a complete fucking asshole to that person. Even though I'd actively discourage that behavior, I have no way of controlling it besides just saying don't do that. And by making easier access, like a link in the description directly to it, I felt it could enable people to just go and harass him, which I never want to happen to anyone. Now, of course, I see the other side of the argument that he's saying, like, if I had directly linked it, people could have fact-checked me on the video without having to go out of their way for it, which, of course, is a good point, but I didn't know what the best way of navigating this was, because by directly linking it, there's a good chance there'd be unreasonable assholes that aren't even there to read the document, they're just there to harass him or get mad at him without anything else going on, just unreasonable assholes. So I thought by just showing where the document is, letting people see where they can find the document if they want to fact check it themselves, would be the optimal play, but I can see here that this was not his preference, this was not the right way of approaching it, and now I understand.
He is so keen to poison you against this 14-page, meticulously argued document that he goes to the length of finding tweets out of context. He doesn't show the context. And it's just like, here's what the document's about. It's 14 pages!
I never said that's what the whole document was about. I never made a point even similar to that. I mentioned that there's a section where he compares reactors to someone who would likely commit sexual abuse. And to say that I'm taking things out of context to poison the well is very disingenuous because I didn't take them out of context. I'll show you the whole context right here. One of his fans pointed out their disappointment that he would compare React streamers to someone that would commit sexual abuse. And he argued with this person by saying that their behavior is similar to someone that would sexually abuse someone. And he literally uses that word, even though he says in his video he never said that.
Let's play a game. Let's see how many of these words are actually in this document. Sexual, no. How about abuse? Oh, we got report abuse at the top here. How about criminal? No. How about predator? No, not that either. How about rapist? No. It's almost like Charlie is making shit up and I don't understand why.
So while none of those words are explicitly used in the document, he does allude to them in that section, and when pointed out by a fan that it's kind of fucked up to compare React streaming to something that extreme, he then does outright say that people that live this certain way are the very sort of people that may sexually abuse someone. And just to give full context so no one thinks I'm hiding anything, he does continue to argue with another fan who was also disappointed in this statement, and he defends this by saying it's a hyperbole, it's supposed to be an exaggerated scenario, he's not trying to make them like equal or anything. So at the very best, it's an extremely shitty analogy, and at worst, it's a genuinely disgusting thing to say about someone you just don't like. So I really think it's pretty clear when you read this Twitter argument, as well as the hints that he drops in that section of his document, that myself and members of his community would easily see this as him trying to compare reactors to sexual abusers, because that's how it comes across.
And what was really annoying is Moist Critical left that video up. His entire video that I corrected is wrong, as Moist will now admit, but he left it up anyway. 1.3 million people did Moist Critical give false information to, and he did not give two fucks. Did not take the video down, did not submit a retraction, did not give people actual information. No, he, in the original case, made a 10-minute video rambling about stuff that is completely untrue.
This was a really weird section of his video for me, and in his own words, poisoning of the well and defaming me, trying to make it look like I'm knowingly feeding people false information that's wrong, when that's not the case. You can easily disprove this part by just watching the video he made, reacting to and correcting my video on how much YouTubers make from short form content. The information I presented wasn't wrong. The information was incomplete.
This crucial detail is missing from Charlie's video here, where he talks about how much YouTubers make on short form content.
That crucial detail he's talking about is one that he also admits he didn't know about for the longest time either. He has far more experience here, so then learned that a video that is over 30 seconds and not a hashtag short makes significantly more money than a video that's under 30 seconds and not a hashtag short. Something I and many others didn't know, so it was a great video, but that doesn't mean that all the information that precedes it is incorrect and unusable, because all of the information I provided was the earnings of the hashtag shorts, and I did mention that my other content that isn't just hashtag shorts wasn't making much money either, and that's because the majority of the content on that huge Charles channel doesn't exceed 30 seconds, so all of it's in that lower bracket, and I didn't know that there was a distinction from 30 seconds below and 30 seconds above. He did. So that's why his video is even titled an add-on, not Charlie got everything wrong. He even made similar points to the ones I made, where you're not going to make a lot of money off hashtag shorts, and the only real way to make money there is the shorts program, which is garbage and dog shit. He says that same thing, and then says you can make money by making the content a bit longer, which is what I said, but I didn't realize that you didn't have to go to like that 5 or 8 minute mark or whatever. He knew that with short content, it could be like 30 seconds and you still make enough money off it, which I didn't. So it is a huge piece of information that I missed, but its absence doesn't make everything else in that video invalid. I still show that shorts aren't great for making money. They could help you grow, which I mentioned and he mentions, and the content that is sub 30 seconds and not a short doesn't make you much money, so you should be striving for longer content. I just thought it needed to be the 8 minute mark or something. He knew that it didn't need to. So the points still coincide, it's just he had more information on it, and I don't know why in his response video he's using it as some kind of point to make me look like just an awful fucking person, like this guy's so okay with everything being wrong he won't take this video down, even though I completely spread his fucking cheeks and spit in there with logic and facts where I proved everything was wrong in my video, which he didn't. His video is an add-on, as it is labeled in the title. At no point in that video he's like, Charlie got everything super wrong. Don't listen to any of it, it's all trash. It's an add-on that corrects a misunderstanding I had of how the system works, and I've thoroughly complimented that video on stream because it was super insightful. The reason I haven't taken that video down is because it is still useful information for people.
So not only do I really heavily attack that idea that anyone can transform a 6-month work by pausing it every once in a while and going, I think that's funny. Here's an idea for you, a revolutionary concept. How about you watch the video first? And then once you've watched the video, you say, hey, I actually have nothing of interest to add here. I'm not going to make a video out of it. Or you might say, hey, I have something interesting to add. I'm going to take that individual part in the middle where I have something to add and make my own video about it.
That is a pretty revolutionary idea. You mean like the majority of the content I've ever fucking made? You know that I don't just do React shit. You know that. But you still portray me as that to your audience, as someone that has only ever reacted to full videos on stream, and portray me as someone that only sits there and says, haha, when you know that's just not the case. Now, we can argue on what's transformative and what's not, and that's also going to be an argument that needs to be had with the creator of the video that gets reacted to, because it's their content. You can't tell them what they should feel about it. However, I do fully concede that, sure, you can absolutely say there's no way of transforming a work that makes it wholly original if you're watching it in its entirety. I totally do understand that perspective, and now that Dark Viper has explained that perspective in this video, I understand it deeper now than I did from just reading the script. Which is why with this newfound understanding of this perspective, I will no longer be watching full YouTube videos on stream. I'd rather take suggestions for YouTube videos to watch, but not watch the whole thing on stream. I'd rather watch it, see if it's something I have anything to add to, and then turn it into perhaps a full video response, which is my normal content. Contrary to what Dark Viper kind of hints at, I'm not just a React streamer. It's a very small part of what I do. I do a lot of different things, and reacting to content on stream is a very small part of it. So from now on, YouTube nights on my Twitch streams, twitch.tv/moistcritical, feel free to stop in to put a few extra inches on your penis. From now on, those are going to look like people giving suggestions as they always have, and we'll maybe check them out for a little bit to see if it's anything that I can add value to, and if not, we're done. If there is, then we're still done, because it's going to be a video that I will then watch the rest of on my own if it is something that I can truly add something to and add more to for the content in order to branch off and talk more about it without showcasing the entire thing. It's worth noting that all of the React videos on my channel, even the React ones that he fucking hates, they don't show just the full video. They are still just the parts where I am reacting to it, making jokes about it or talking about it deeper, but I still do understand that that's still a large chunk of the video itself, so it is still pretty close to like almost the full runtime in some cases. So again, going forward, I won't just be rolling the dice hoping I can add to whatever video gets recommended on YouTube night. I will be maybe checking them for a little bit, and then if it's something that I can add to, I'll look at the rest on my own and maybe make content out of as a response to it, as opposed to real-time reaction, which has always been the majority of my content anyway. I think what really helped me understand this perspective wasn't Dark Viper's video, it was actually JXC's. They made a great video recently just going over the entire React ecosystem, just going over everything from the perspective of someone that had their video reacted to by multiple people, myself included. It's actually the video of the Bizarre House walkthrough, the one that I mentioned, was a very shameful moment for me, where it's a video I really liked but didn't react hard to. I'd already seen it and I just basically shared it with my community without adding anything to it, and they were upset with that, which I totally do get. And they made a video going over that whole situation and really helped put it in perspective for me to understand things better. Dark Viper more focuses on dunking, which in some cases he has every right to because I got things wrong, but JXC really painted the whole picture that put it all like in a really good perspective for me to get. Now there's one thing I'd like to quickly tackle, and it's an important thing that I talked about in my video of Dark Viper's media share history. On streams, he used to sometimes have his community donate money to play clips from other creators' videos without their consent that Dark Viper would react to on stream while playing Grand Theft Auto on the side. He would then take those reaction streams and post them on YouTube, which made money off of it. And to me, that was similar to everything he was criticizing the other React streamers for. However, in the very opening parts of his document, he does lay out the groundwork for his definition of React streaming, what it means to be a reactor, how it all works, and by all of those definitions, the groundwork, that doesn't apply because it's not the full videos that's being shared, it is clips from the videos, still without consent and all of that, but it is still not exactly in the same ballpark, and I realize now that it was a mistake for me to put my own bias here where I believed that it still fit under the React streaming, but since I'm talking about his 14-page document, I needed to play by his definition of React streamers, which I do understand now was a mistake on my part because that does not fit into the same category that he was criticizing, which was defined and laid out in the opening parts of the document. He says that I didn't include this because I wanted to undercut his points, but it's just simply not the case.
Reactors can therefore only ever be the middlemen in these platforms, taking impressions from all other original content creators and giving a small amount back to other people. Reactors do not somehow manifest additional impressions. There is no free lunch in this industry. The impressions they give out are a portion of what they steal from other people.
So this is where the cracks in what I understood start to show, because when reading the script, the ideas that he's explaining here don't convey super well to me and many others that read it. It's not just me, even though he's confused on how I ended up at this interpretation, even though this is how most people from what I saw in the comments and in his own subreddit interpreted what he was saying. It was very hard to discern the real meaning before he came in here and provided the context, but this is where things really fell apart in what I understood. What he's actually saying is the reactors occupy a lot of the impressions that are not infinite on the platform, and when those reactors are gone, those impressions will eventually make make their way back onto the platform in other places now that the React content is gone, not necessarily to small channels. I went into this document under the impression that the entire pillar of the argument was that without the React content, these smaller channels would be flourishing. All of those impressions that they're occupying in their absence would go to smaller channels specifically, and good channels specifically. Good by his definition, which we'll get to in a minute, which was different than the definition I had of good. But what he's actually saying is they just get distributed to other channels in general, which is absolutely true. The reason I went in here thinking it was all about small channels is because that's the way he framed it in his initial tweet, at least the way that I and many others understood it. He starts by saying all reactors are bad people, so I mean, that's poisoning the well, as he says, and they've stolen millions of dollars from actual creators and stopped smaller creators from having a career. So to me, going into this document, that says that, okay, so reactors have stopped small creators from having a career, and every point he makes is going to be about how without the reactors, those small creators will be doing better, specifically small creators. So this changed the way that I digested the information he was presenting. I guess subconsciously the way I kept putting it back was that the point he is making ultimately isn't the fact that obviously without this content more views are going elsewhere. It's without this content these views are going to small creators, like specifically to them, because I went in here under the impression that this was about the small creators getting fucked by reactors, but I now understand thanks to this video that is not the overall point that he's making. He even says in this video that if every creator, not just React creator, but like if every big YouTuber was gone, all of the other creators would be doing better, like the smaller channels. And he's right, because they occupy a lot of the market. You know, creators occupy big chunks of the market. So if those chunks are gone, those impressions could find their way to the smaller creators or just other places in general, which is true. But when I first read this document, I approached it with this mindset that he is trying to say that good content is guaranteed to get those impressions if that React content isn't there anymore to occupy the space, which I totally disagree with, and he also would, I imagine, disagree with. No one is guaranteed those impressions. He says no one's guaranteed those impressions, and then goes on to define his definition of good content, which was different than my definition of good content.
Admittedly, you'd have to have seen my other content to understand this, but when I say something is good, I mean in an algorithmic sense. It appeals to the market, which I would have used clips to substantiate if you had let me make the video. It is very possible to make high quality content that no one wants to watch, or to present it very poorly in regards to thumbnails and titles. But I consider thumbnails and titles to be a part of the package. Good content is that in which can be picked up by the algorithm.
I didn't wait for his video to be made because his community had already started emailing me and sending me messages about being compared to a sexual abuser. So obviously I went to look at the document itself and respond to it because people kept emailing me about it from your community telling me some nasty shit. So that's why I didn't wait and talked about it now. But you're right, had I waited, you would have been able to more accurately get across this point than just on some words on a page. His definition of good is drastically different than mine. For me, as I said in my video, good content, I thought high quality production, a lot of work goes into it, very research topic, buttoned up, just a general overall good piece of content from a production, storytelling, whatever standpoint. His definition is all of that plus just being algorithmically viable, something that appeals to a large audience, something that can get picked up and spread around, good thumbnail, good everything. That is not how I worked under the impression of good content. He also states that there's a multitude of reasons why that high quality production that I considered good content may never go anywhere. He says that in his definition, good content that does all of these things right, that can get picked up by the algorithm, does the thumbnail perfectly, all of that, will eventually get exposure. And I am inclined to agree with that. Ludwig, in his video, also did prove that to a certain extent as well. If you have a deep understanding of what makes content algorithmically viable and make it something that can be picked up, you stand a good chance of naturally getting exposure without someone reacting to the content. That is a point that I do agree with him on. But it is not something that I could pick up from the pages here because the good content wasn't defined for me, so I imposed my own definition of it, which doesn't work here because no content is guaranteed impressions. Even content that is algorithmically viable, is good content by his definitions, is still not guaranteed impressions either, but it stands a much better chance of naturally getting that exposure. Again, it was just me not knowing what his definition of good content was that he was working under.
Nowhere in this document do I use small creators anywhere. Anywhere! The impressions logically would go to other people If a person uses React content on Twitch to keep people from going to YouTube, that is the same thing. I'm not talking about YouTube specifically, Twitch specifically, TikTok specifically, Instagram specifically, the entire online creator marketplace.
Which is something I didn't pick up on at all. He's right. He didn't discriminate. It wasn't just on YouTube, and it wasn't just about small creators, which is how I interpreted his initial tweet, because he's talking about it stopped thousands of creators from having a career. To me, that says small creators, because I mean, Dark Viper is not going to lose his career because there's an influx of React content somewhere on the site. So to me, the only people that that's referring to are going to be the small creators that might be affected by not being able to get in on those eyeballs somehow. So I interpreted it incorrectly then, if it's not about small creators, which it clearly isn't. And the entire point isn't just about YouTube, which I thought it was. He's talking about the broader creator sphere, which was lost on me because I went in there with the incorrect perceived notion of what the actual full subject was and the scope of it. I focused too closely on what I thought his point was based on an extremely hostile opening statement on Twitter, as well as some rants in the comment section with his community. So I went in there incorrectly digesting the information, which, he's right, would have been an issue solved had I waited for the video. But again, why put these names in this script out there? You knew that your community would probably reach out to the people on there and tell them some crazy shit and say some horrible things, which is what got my attention to look at the document in the first place, and it seemed like something I needed to talk about right now because of how many people were bringing it to my attention, which I see was a mistake, and I should have waited for the video because then I would have actually understood past what was on this page. There's still a ton left in his video, but the point is still the same, that I misunderstood from the very get-go, and it changed my perspective of what he was actually saying. As he reiterates multiple times throughout the next parts, the point wasn't that it's going to small creators or that this is only about small creators or that all the impressions stay on YouTube. It's the entire creator atmosphere where without React content specifically, those impressions go to somebody else, which could cause the birth of the next big original content creator, which is a fact that I do agree with. But that's, again, as he mentions, the same with everyone. If every big content creator right now disappeared, all of those impressions that are now homeless, out in the cold, the rain, shit in their diapers or whatever, they now have to go to somebody else because they're already on that platform. Those impressions will be distributed to somebody, and it will be the other creators that now have all that vacancy to occupy. And he's right. But when I came into this document from that first tweet, and I guess maybe I was also going in there already hostile from the emails I'd received and the comparison to the sexual abuse thing, I went in there with a distorted view, and to me, everything I tried to spin back to him talking about how it's guaranteed to help small content creators making good content, which, as he reiterates multiple times, is not what the goal of the post or the video was. So I did misunderstand it, of course. But what I really don't appreciate even still is that comparison, that analogy that he defends so heavily about sexual abuse and React streamers. Even if I wasn't a React streamer, if I had never done it in my life, I would still take great issue with someone making a comparison like that. It's fucked up and rightfully deserves to be called out. I don't think it's a defensible position to have. He's in the right to dunk on me for the other things that I did misunderstand. He's even making my dog upset right now with that comparison. She got one of her toys stuck under the TV, so I had to fish it out for her. But the point I'm making, the comparison of React streamers to someone likely to commit sexual abuse that he has said, it's hyperbole, or in this video he calls it just like an analogy to compare the things, is still fucked up.
My point was, consent matters, and the idea of asking consent after you've already done the thing is clearly not good. That is not how consent works. And I made flippant offhand examples. Like I didn't even say it explicitly. My exact words were at the very end to highlight the absurdity of that position. If you meet a reactor at a party, I suggest covering your glass or outright tell them you don't want them to fuck you because they seem keen to take a person's silence for consent.
Again, you did explicitly say it in your Twitter argument. It is still a shit analogy. It's not an okay comparison to make. Imagine an actual victim of sexual abuse reading that and having it trivialized to something like React streaming, like, oh, these two are now comparable. It's fucked up. And you got that response on Twitter as well, and you know that it's a bad position to take, and I wish you would just let it go and just say, yes, I got a little too heated and said something stupid. While yes, the issue of consenting to having your video reacted to is an important one, it's not okay to somehow use that to put these two on the same playing field almost, where sexual abuse and React streaming can be in the same sentence. It's not okay to do that. Yes, again, I do agree that getting permission to watch something on stream is important, which is why, going forward, even when given permission, I will not be watching the entire thing on stream anyway. I'm not changing my stance on that, but absolutely, I took a peanut butter and LE sandwich on a lot of what I thought he was saying, because I got it wrong. I really did. And he was right to defend it as he did in this video.
Wait a second. This is just React content. And the last video I watched was just him repeating stuff he'd seen on Twitter and with a few dick jokes. Why am I watching this? There has to be better content out there than this. If you read some of the comments under my original community post, many people had the same view. You were once upon a time a decent content creator, but you've become rich and lazy.
This has nothing to do with his points at all. It's more of just an ad hominem thing, but it is something I do want to talk about because it's super weird to me when people say I was once upon a time a decent content creator, but I'm lazy now. My content pre-2016, I would sit down for 10 minutes, play a game, and just make a checklist mentally, and I've talked about this, where I'd say cock at least 3 times, cum, titties, and nipples. That was every piece of content I made from fucking 2010 to like 2016. And then I started branching into other forms of content that I just have a lot more fun doing and make me significantly happier. I very rarely mention nipples. I can rarely even think of a time I've even mentioned it in the last couple of months or years, honestly. I don't make a ton of dick jokes. I don't just sit down for 10 minutes, one take playing a shitty game, and just go through my checklist of, you gotta be shitting on my ass shitter and I'm pissing on my dick pisser. You know, like I'm putting significantly more into these videos and I'm doing so many other things. Just being fully transparent with the mask off, this is something that's always hurt me over the last few years, where people say that my glory days were back then, like the 2010 to 2015 content, because I was fucking miserable making it. It was literally a mental checklist of mentioning penis, cum, and titties. I don't think any of it was really all that great, and I'd always say like XD random shit. Well, this is look at this. I'm going so fast it'll put titties on a cactus. Oh man, you gotta be rubbing my ass cheek with 5 bricks, but not 6 because 6 bricks is the shits. Like, none of that I really think is like good stuff, but people always reference it like that's when Charlie was at his best. He was just so fucking happy doing it. It was great. And I don't get it because now I'm doing so many different things and I'm not just a one-trick pony mentioning nipples and cock. Of course, I'll still talk about penis sometime because wiener is enjoyable to joke about from time to time, but it's not every video and it's not every joke. And I do so many different things besides just play shitty video games. Like music videos, I've been very passionate about. A full fucking comic series we've been working super hard on over the last almost 2 years now. Doing big scale productions like our own Squid Game, or hosting our own professional go-karting race on a legitimate indie track, or making a potato cannon from scratch and firing a potato through a tennis racket to create french fries on the other end like Ed, Edd n Eddy. Training with an ungodly specimen of masculinity and martial arts, Dale from Detroit Urban Survival Training, when he came out and got goofy with us. Started an entire esports organization that's winning championships now. Started an entire organization, Human Media Group, that is aimed at helping creators not get fucked by MCNs and shady sponsors and shit, bringing them deals and helping them with their channels. Like when Nux wasn't getting paid by YouTube, getting that situation solved, being in a position to help creators that I really have always wanted to be in, making all kinds of different content that I'm so proud of, and still people just keep referencing like 2010 to 2015 Charlie of that's when he was at his best, just playing shitty games, doing the absolute bare minimum. That was the laziest time of my life. It took me 10 minutes to make those videos. Now I'll spend fucking 10 weeks on something. I spend so much time creating content that it really makes me happy. And then of course sprinkled throughout there, I'll have times where it is React content. And yeah, like I've mentioned multiple times, it is effortless stuff, but it was content I had fun creating, and now I understand that it's not like the best form of content for everyone. So I'm going to change that and make it more the response content that I've always done, which is the more like specific points that I want to talk about and add value to the content and not just the entire piece itself. If you scrolled through my channel right now, you would see so much different content, so many different things. That's not just response, gaming, or podcast, moist meter. There's just so much there. So much shit, and it's all things that I'm much happier making and I'm having a lot of fun doing. So when someone like Dark Viper, who really only does one thing, which is play GTA, talk about GTA, speedrun GTA, and he's good at it, don't get me wrong, like I said, I enjoy him, but all he really does is commit to one thing, one area, and then rant. That's it. You're not some beacon of incredible creativity, man. You live in one single bubble, the rock star bosom that you continue to suckle on, and then still have the audacity to say shit like, I'm only a React streamer. All Moist Critical is a React streamer now. He doesn't do anything else. It fucking sucks. And yeah, it absolutely does hurt. You mention many times throughout your streams, at least in the past from when I've watched, how like actually miserable you are. Like you are pretty much a loner who is committed 100% to the grind. And really there's nothing wrong with the grind like that, but I would argue you'd be a lot happier if you did more than just obsessively focus on one area. I'm sure you and your community remember the entire Unnamed drama where, to bring everyone up to speed on the lore, Dark Viper was going for an incredible record and he was beaten to it by someone named Unnamed, and in response, Dark Viper really had a rough go of it. He kind of had a bit of a meltdown and it was a big disaster in the whole Dark Viper anime arc. It was a very dark time for the community and I was there for it. I saw all of it, but I still supported Dark Viper. Like as a person, I still thought his content was good. I still enjoyed like watching and hearing from him. But for you to go out and call these people just this, that's all they are, and you can spit on them because you're so much better because all you are is the GTA ranting guy and that's a lot better. It's just so fucking silly. I really think it is. So yeah, I went on a bit of a rant about this because this is something that I've been wanting to talk about a little bit more. Because this perspective is something that always fucking hurts. It really does. People prefer just one thing and one thing only. Dance Monkey, Charlie, play bad games, nothing else. That's when he was at his best. And it fucking hurts because I didn't like doing that exclusively. What I'm doing now is so many different things. And for Dark Viper to keep portraying me as just one person, one guy doing this one thing, fucking sucks. So yeah, again, he had every right to dunk on me for the things I got wrong. Overall, I think this has been a pretty eye-opening experience, and I feel like I've learned a lot. Not all from Dark Viper. I think JXE did a really great job with it, to be honest. But yeah, it's something that I definitely wanted to talk about, and that's it. So yeah. The world is in a very weird state right now. Corruption has sunk its fangs into everything around us. The price of eggs just keeps going up. You could get a single carton of eggs for the same price as a down payment on a Tesla. I can't believe the wacky state of the world. Who would have thought? But by far, the biggest display of injustice in our society was something that took place last night at the Streamer Awards. The Streamer Awards are an annual, high-quality production spearheaded by QT Cinderella. It's an event that every human being on the planet looks forward to every year, and they make the Oscars ceremony look like a participation trophy awards show for the second-string JV sports clubs at a high school. It's an amazing and fun event that just brings everyone in the space together to just have some fun, and it's voted on by fans to just kind of celebrate the space. As you all know, last year, I was the recipient of the prestigious Variety Streamer of the Year category. This year, Radio Silence. I wasn't nominated for anything. Now, me being an adult and being the strong, hulking, masculine embodiment of what it means to be a testosterone-fueled titan, I can handle that. I'm okay with it. I understand. But not everyone is as mentally strong or has my level of fortitude, so there were riots, there were protests at the Streamer Awards ceremony. And I kind of just want to talk about that a little bit because I think it's important too.
Dude, it suits you, man. Huh? It suits you, like the fancy. For real? I'm nervous.
I watched it unfold live. The chaos was almost too much for me to bear. People protesting on my behalf, I never would have wanted such a thing, but as you could see, it was inevitable. I wasn't nominated for any categories, and people, they had enough. So, as you can see, a few rioters showed up there. I don't know those men, and I can only imagine the ones that didn't make it that must have been protesting right outside. But these three noble heroes snuck in. As you can see, they're strategically planted in the blind spots of security, like a game of fucking Assassin's Creed. They had no idea they were there. And, well, it only escalated from there.
As far as anyone who's anyone is here...
What?
Wait, what are we doing here?
They gotta work on security. You got some fucking hooligans turning up.
Pretty much we weren't nominated this year, and it's a bigger spit in the face than spitting in God's face. It's like slapping God on his freaking ass and then asking him to come show up anyways. I don't know why we were nominated if you don't have the respect to give us the time of day.
Is this a protest?
Yeah, this is a protest. Yep,
protest,
you got it right on the dot.
I think they have something.
I feel
I think
like
they're onto
moist
something.
critical right now.
Yeah.
A second
What does
class
that even
citizen.
mean?
A second class citizen.
Oh, because 2.
It's like an afterthought, but not like a good afterthought like the Chow Garden and Sonic Adventure Battle 2. More like a bad afterthought like the script in Avatar The Way of Water.
Yeah, have you ever heard of the franchise Hunger Games? That's my arm right there.
He's speaking facts.
I kind of carried the franchise, and you
Hollywood
didn't have
royalty.
the guts to nominate us. So now we're on
Hollywood royalty,
protest.
and yet
All right, okay, well, let me
we
ask you
won
guys,
last year.
what should you have been nominated for?
Everything.
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
Agreed. They're onto something.
Yep.
Look, let me show you something. What
Yep.
we have here is Brendan Fraser's talented actor Bathwater.
Yep.
What?
So, when he was filming The Whale, after the shoot, he took off the fat suit, and for about 6 hours each day of shooting, he would soak in a bath. This is 75% Brendan Fraser sweat,
Don't drink
25%
it.
water.
Don't drink it. Don't
Well, let him
drink
take a swig. It's like
Don't drink
it's
it.
like
Don't drink it.
nectar.
It's gonna mess me up.
I'm a big fan of
Don't
the
drink
Mummy.
it.
Well, when you drink it,
They're treating Brendan Fraser's sweat like it's poison, which is honestly insulting. I imagine if that truly was his sweat in the jar, like I imagine it would be, probably ethically sourced right from Brendan himself, you'd be lucky enough to be able to try some of that absolute sweet potion. That'd be like a panacea. It'd heal all your wounds, make you taller, put more hair on your chest. Like, what a generous gift they came bearing. This is the most peaceful protest I've ever seen in my fucking life.
For you.
And, these homeless men are really upset. I told you the corruption has really angered the entire community.
You're watching Moist Critical stream of this.
Charlie, and Charlie's stream. Yeah.
Yes.
well, it's kind of funny he came back to us right now because he didn't have the courtesy to nominate us. It's kind of like spitting in God's face and then asking him to beg for forgiveness. It's kind of pathetic.
Back
I give
at
it
it
back because I
again.
figured that was for you. So.
All.
Well, it's not for me. I don't know who those guys are. It's just they're as
We
upset
are
as everyone
going
else is
to-
about this whole situation.
I'm gonna
honestly, it's a
come down
sham
right down
that I wasn't
here,
nominated,
so
and they've
then
had enough.
Valky
Clearly.
Ray.
This is me extending an olive branch. I'm calling for a ceasefire. This anger is misplaced. It's not the way of the Jedi. This is a fan-nominated ceremony, which means I fell off. That means my stream wasn't clapping cheeks the way it was last year. And as hard as it is to take responsibility, there's really only one place you can point your finger, only one entity to shoulder the blame, and that's everyone but me. It's actually a giant conspiracy on the same level as Hollow Earth. There's some true foul play going on behind the scenes, not only in the community, but on the platform itself. I ask you, when was the last time my stream was on the front page of Twitch or even recommended on Twitch? Do I hear zero? Because that's the correct answer, which is weird. I mean, I do a lot of innovative, cool shit on Twitch. Like, just like a month ago, I was talking about Bill Cosby's upcoming comedy tour, and even chat was being very helpful with giving, like, ways to survive. You know, bring your own snacks. If you start yawning, immediately dial 911. Like, we go over important topics. We do crazy shit. Like, I played Sons of the Forest really fast, and I only cried twice because of how fucking bad that game was and how awful and boring the speedrun was after the fucking 20th time of running it. Point is, I mean, like, hey, you know, these streams, you know, they're just as good this year as last year. I mean, so something must have gone wrong. There must have been some kind of outer forces at work in order to keep me suppressed, or perhaps they didn't want me to win too many times, which I think is probably the leading theory. But regardless, it's clearly not me who's hurt. I'm not the one offended. It's pandemonium on the streets right now of LA. Those were only 3 protesters that made it inside the venue undetected. But I've seen pictures, I've read reports about thousands upon thousands showing up wondering, where's Moist Critical at? You know, I wasn't on the ballot. You know what, it's not important though, because at the end of the day, the event was fucking amazing. QT Cinderella and the entire production team absolutely outdid themselves. This was bigger and better than last year, and I fucking loved watching it. Huge thanks to QT Cinderella for letting me even watch party it in the first place. I really wanted to go, but I do have a legitimate debilitating fear of flying, so that was kind of off the table, and it's literally like a 3-day road trip from where I'm at to get to California, and that's just a very difficult thing to make happen. So I couldn't be there myself, but she allowed me to still co-stream it and watch it with the chat and celebrate and just be part of the fun. But luckily, you know, I've cloned myself. We have doppelgangers, and they were able to attend in my place, and they made a very fun spectacle out of it. Of course, they were kissing each other per usual. I still don't fully understand why, but like if you watch the Twitch highlight of the Streamer Awards, when the Charlies are on screen, they do a threesome kiss for some reason. It's fantastic work. Absolutely. I guess that is what I'm known for, you know, kissing myself. Just a really huge thanks. I always appreciate that they're willing to do something like that, and it's become just a cherished tradition at this point. So big thanks to Joel Haver, Kevin Amarillo, and Demetrios Michalikis. I think it's always just spectacular. So I just want to talk about this a little bit because the Streamer Awards are something that I think is very special. I always love, like I mentioned, when a creator does something big and branches out from just standard content online from like gaming or talking or whatever and doing these huge productions and taking a risk like this. And QT does it like no one else does. The production, the event, is unlike anything else in the space. It's a huge venue, very professional, and just so well put together and fun, and it always just... It deserves a huge round of applause from everyone who enjoys live content or anything like that because it's spectacular. So I just wanted to highlight that and the great work her and her team have done for this. Absolutely fucking killed it. Can't wait for the next one next year. And yeah, that's really about it. See ya. Over the last couple weeks, I've made a lot of content on internet controversies. I've kept my finger on the pulse of any type of online drama. Just been this adventurous little greasy goblin that's been glued to internet drama. And honestly, at this point, it's reaching like an addiction status. Kind of like a heroin addict fishing used needles out of a dumpster to get their fix. But in my case, the drug is something much harder than heroin. It's drama. It's like this crucial nutrient that my body's been craving, like a newborn baby lashing out for his mom to pop a tit out for milk to suckle. I'm getting carried away and it's getting weird. Point is, I've made a lot of content on this stuff, and I wanted to do a video today to follow up with some of the bigger stories that I've covered that at the time didn't have any closure. But now that the drama anime arc is starting to wind down a little bit, we're starting to reach the season finale to a lot of these things, so I'd like to give you where all of this is at, because a lot of it has very happy endings so far. Not all of it, but some of it. So let's just go ahead and get into it now. The first one I want to talk about is that massive Twitch injury, which I've made 2 videos on now because I find it to be a truly heinous situation. I'll give you the quick breakdown. Streamer by the name of Adriana Chechik went to TwitchCon at the Lenovo Intel booth where they had a foam pit and like gladiatorial combat thing where you push people off a pedestal into the foam pit. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem that the pit was set up properly and resulted in just a death trap. It actually just kind of feels like something out of Wile E. Coyote's playbook here where he paints like a tunnel on a rock hoping the Roadrunner will hit it. That's what they did with this foam pit. It was basically just a fake. It was like an illusion of cushioning. It seems like there was only 2 layers of foam blocks, so what ended up happening is a lot of people would fall in and get injured. Unfortunately, the worst injury was a life-changing one, suffered by Adriana Chechik. She jumped into the foam pit and broke her back in 2 different places, which of course needed multiple surgeries, all of which she's had now, including bone fusions. She had to like relearn to walk. It's been a wild journey for sure, but it seems she's making a solid recovery. She even had her first stream since this incident today. So I'll show you a quick clip from that.
Breath. If you can't tell, I'm already out of breath. I get out of breath holding my phone, everything. But they did an amazing job. The stitches were inside because I'm a model. So I was like, can you do anything to hide the stitches? So the scar doesn't look, and I'm growing my armpit hair out, so don't judge me. But the scar looks really...
So yeah, she's able to stand now. She even streamed for a little while, and it just looks like she's making a much quicker recovery than pretty much anyone expected, myself included. Back injuries are notorious for being lifelong, like chronic pain situations. I had like a slight boo-boo to my L4 at one point, and that shit lasted months. So I can only imagine like what this is going to look like for the future for her, but it really does seem like she's making a great recovery. A lot of people have been wondering if she's going to sue Twitch or Lenovo or Intel or anyone responsible for the injury, and unfortunately there's no new information there. I have to imagine she's at least considering it due to how expensive all of the medical treatments have been so far, as well as how much there's going to be down the line as well. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see there. But she did also reveal something super sad that resulted from this injury, even outside of the injury itself. And I'm just going to let this clip play.
Anxiety. And then also like I don't care, everyone's gonna know, but I was pregnant, and I didn't find out until I was in the hospital. So I also have like crazy hormones. I'm not pregnant anymore because of the surgery. I couldn't keep it. But my hormones are just also through the fucking roof because of that.
Yeah, just a super sad development in that story there, unfortunately. Not much more can be said about the damage that's been done from the TwitchCon foam pit here. That has just been a true disaster. And anyone that went to the foam pit and survived should feel blessed, because goddamn. Now, not every story I want to follow up on today is Twitch-based, but this next one is. This is the Amaranth situation. This one seems to be having a happy conclusion. You'll remember not too long ago on stream, she left for a little while because her husband called and was yelling and screaming at her. During this argument, she unmuted because he had threatened to kill her dogs, and he said that on stream too for everyone to hear, and he just seems like an absolutely unhinged lunatic. Comes across very abusive. Amaranth then just had this whole phone call on stream, and a lot came out about how awful her husband is to her. She then shows some of the damage to the house that he's caused in his fits of rage. Just a terrible situation all around. So it seemed like Amaranth was a victim of abuse, and everyone was wondering, well, is she going to leave him and what's going to happen next? And fast forward to today, it does seem like she has gotten out of that situation. She seems to be in a safer position now and seems to be a lot happier. She's doing streams where she's like hanging out with horses, doing what she wants to do, and overall just a pretty positive outcome so far. So yeah, that's the update there. The next story I want to follow up on is actually extremely wacky. It's a fishing cheating scandal. A professional tournament for fishing recently fell victim to absolutely deplorable behaviors from some competitors who disgraced the sanctity of the sport. They cheated by stuffing their fish with like lead balls in order to increase their weight. So what ended up happening is they swindled this tournament out of money, because in fishing, the more your fish weighs, the better you are in the standings. That's what you're being scored on. So they'd take their fish and they'd stuff it with the lead weights to make it weigh more, but they must have flown too close to the sun with this method, because eventually they checked and they cut the fish open and found the lead weights and caught them red-handed. You know, they noticed that this fish weighed a lot more than it appeared. You know, the fish is like the size of my fist, but it weighed like fucking 15 pounds. That fish must have been made out of goddamn tungsten. So they got suspicious, cut it open, and found out they were cheating. And they could have been cheating for far longer than this tournament. There's really no telling just how much they've actually cheated and how much they've scammed out of these tournaments. It could be like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they get like boats for prizes sometimes too. Like, they could have made a pretty penny off of all of this cheating up until now. And now they're facing felony charges to which they're pleading not guilty. So Jacob and Chase are now being indicted by a grand jury on felonies of cheating, attempted grand theft, and possessing criminal tools, as well as a misdemeanor of unlawful ownership of wild animals. Getting a little more information on that, the unlawful ownership of wild animals refers to the raw fillets they had on their boat, which they were also stuffing the fish with, I believe, in order to increase their weight. So yeah, they stuffed these fish like a Christmas stocking. They fucking stuffed it like a Thanksgiving turkey. And now they're getting slapped around with some pretty serious charges that carry some potentially hefty results here. So these repercussions could be huge. We don't know how the trial is going to play out, but I thought this was a pretty interesting update to this story. Now, the next one I want to follow up on is kind of similar in this regard, because it involves some people getting charged with some felonies. I made a video talking about that teacher that went around at like an elementary school and started scaring the 4-year-olds or 5-year-olds, however old the kids were. They're toddlers. She put on a mask and went around yelling and screaming in their face and shaking them around. It's a pretty cruel and disturbing thing to do, because she'd just go around classroom to classroom, shaking, yelling, and screaming in the kids' faces. The kids are crying their eyes out. At one point, one of the kids tries to run away in fear, but the teacher picks him up, yelling and screaming, and sets him down again and starts yelling and screaming at him again. It's pretty rough. And now, 4 of those people that were involved in this incident are being charged with felony child abuse. as well as one other participant being charged with a misdemeanor. Now, I did see some people arguing that this charge is a bit harsh for the teachers here, but I just wholeheartedly disagree. There is like no justification or excuse to try and like traumatize these kids. They are too young to realize that it's not real. They were screaming and crying and being shaken around by a scary person yelling and screaming at them. Also, it seems like it was even used as a disciplinary action because at one point, the lady in the mask was asking who's been like naughty in the classroom, and then she'd target that kid specifically and yell and scream at them real loud. So I don't see how this is anything beyond just completely fucked up and cruel. So I think the charge makes sense here. I know she wasn't beating the kids or anything like that, but I also don't think that should be like the bar for what we consider to be legitimate abuse. There's different levels to it, and I definitely think this falls under child abuse, especially from a position of a teacher where you're supposed to be taking care of some people's kids and looking after them and making them feel safe or enthusiastic about going to like daycare or school. Now they're just going to be fucking frightened to go back. Now moving on to the last thing I'd like to give an update to. This is about the story of that woman who shot and skinned a husky and started posting pictures bragging about it on Facebook. She said she thought it was a wolf, so she shot it and then started skinning it and posed with it, smiling and everything. And then people pointed out that's not a wolf you shot, it's a husky. So then she doubled down saying, well, I thought it was a wolf, as if that makes it like okay or like makes you look less of a stupid asshole. But anyway, now she's being charged with a crime. That crime is animal cruelty, which she's going to have to face in court pretty soon. You can also see a little excerpt there from her post about how excited she was to get to kill a wolf pup, even though it was just a 6-month-old husky that looked nothing like a wolf. The animal cruelty charge clearly makes sense here. I think she is fucking dangerously dumb. Hopefully she faces the full brunt of that charge. And yeah, I just wanted to give like this full, wrap up on where all of these stories I've covered recently are currently. And yeah, that's really about it. So yeah. Yesterday I posted a video talking about the dancing OK Boomer girl on Twitter, the one doing the shit on Twitter that started the giant simp war. At the end of the video, I talked about how she revealed she had a boyfriend, and that was the end of that. The ceasefire was called and everyone was all good. I couldn't have been more wrong. In fact, this was simply a ruse. The Twitter simp war never stopped. In fact, that was just a fake olive branch leading to a simp ambush. And as embarrassed as I am to say this, I'm just so fucking ashamed of this. I contributed to the Twitter simp war. I fanned the flames of it. But I'll get to that shit in a minute, and it actually makes me sick. I want to talk about what happened with the girl, Nico. At the time of when I posted the video, made it and all that, there was no real aftermath. There wasn't any, like, carnage. There wasn't fucking burned down cities or anything, or, churches turned to ruin. People just moved on. They realized she had a boyfriend, they washed their hands of it, stopped foaming at the mouth like a rabid dog and coming in their diapers. They got over it. However, later that night, a big portion of those once true white knights went out of their way to get her Twitter account suspended. But not even that was enough for them. They didn't have their pound of flesh. They went after her TikTok as well, trying to get that suspended. That one never went down, but her Twitter was suspended for about an hour or so. She got it back. So in response, they copyright struck the dance video, the OK Boomer dance video, which, from what I can see, is still copyright claimed. And not by the person who made the song. They have come out publicly saying they didn't issue that. It was that group of people that are upset to find out that they never stood a chance of taking her to prom or anything. So after that, they really dug deep into their asshole to pull out their ultimate weapon, their final Manhattan project, the unfollow button. They mass unfollowed her account and she lost roughly 130,000 followers over the course of 24 hours. That is a fucking speed run right there. That's a speed run world record any percent shit. Fucking O.J. Simpson could go on Twitter right now and post a video admitting to the murders, and he would not lose that many followers in a day. That shit was on another level, what happened with Nico here. I've never seen something like that. All because she just told the world she had a boyfriend. She didn't feel she needed to hide it. I feel super bad for Nico here because she rose to stardom overnight just doing something she enjoyed doing, something wholesome, dancing. And then all of a sudden people get mad at her for having a life outside of their fantasy internet girl thing. It's just some sad shit. All around, just some super pathetic shit, honestly, from the Twitter simp wars. Now, what I talked about earlier, where I unfortunately contributed to it, actually makes me fucking sick. So, what do I mean by that? I made that video yesterday talking about all of this Twitter simp wars because it was an entertaining topic. I didn't make it to try and lead some type of, holy crusade against the simps or anything like that. It was just to make jokes about it, as I always do with situations like this. Not some type of serious revolution I'm trying to start or some kind of movement. It's just to make some fucking jokes about it. But unfortunately, a lot of euphoric, enlightened atheist Redditors watched that video and went on this holy crusade to eliminate the simps and, violently harass them, dox them, just some crazy shit. Because for the first time in a long time, I didn't censor the names of someone I showed on Twitter. So when I showed that thread about, the nudes troll thing, people went out of their way to attack those people and anyone they felt was an actual simp. Full disclosure, that thread of the nudes troll thing, those were all people making jokes. At the time, I didn't know that because on Twitter, it's hard to fucking tell. There are people that pathetic. There's people that make out with their dogs on Twitter. It's hard to tell what's a joke and what's not. So this led to this crazy witch hunt on Twitter between who's a real simp, who's an ironic simp, and then who's this Redditor that's coming in here with this fucking justice boner doing nothing but making things worse. Which means I added an Act 2 to this Twitter simp war completely unintentionally. I've learned my lesson now. I can't trust people to behave themselves if I show someone's name. I don't know why people can't just sit back and laugh about an entertaining situation like the Twitter simp wars here. I don't know why they have to go out of their way to try and prove something to themselves or God that they're fighting for the, what's right by attacking these dudes on Twitter making jokes about it or some shit. I don't understand why someone is so compelled to go out of their way to fight for hours, and it's not a small number. This is over 1,000 people at least did this, fight for hours with these people joking about being simps, or they may have fought with real simps. It's literally impossible to tell. It's like that Spider-Man picture where he's pointing at himself and accusing each other. It's baffling to me how a large group of people could sit there and watch the video yesterday, realize it's all for jokes, but then take it as a call to arms to go on Twitter and fight for hours. Why? People go out of their way to play in the fucking pig pen, the little swamp, and just fight battles on Twitter for no fucking reason. And then I feel responsible for it because now I've contributed to something like that, completely unintentionally. I've learned my lesson. I'm definitely going to keep blocking out people's names because I can't trust how someone's going to respond to it. It's silly. When I make a video like the one yesterday talking about some shit like that, it's just to make jokes about it. I'm not trying to rile up the community to take up arms, Cheetos in hand and Mountain Dew in the other and go charge the front lines of Twitter. I'm just making fucking jokes about it. It's just there to have a little fun. And yet some people take it to this extreme and make it something entirely negative, and it's upsetting. That's really about it. Hopefully that's the end of the great Twitter simp war of 2020. Hopefully that puts a nice little bow on it. And yeah, that's about it. See ya. Linkin Park is back and they've got a new singer. And there is a lot of drama going on and there's a lot of weirdness to talk about. I feel like all of you have heard of Linkin Park before. They're probably one of the most well-known bands of the modern age. And even just hearing the name Linkin Park is like time travel for my brain. It just transports me, astral projects me back to 2002. I've said this before, Hybrid Theory is my favorite album ever, and I think it always will be. It was the soundtrack to my formative years. The boner jams on here I don't think will ever be beaten. And I feel the same way about Meteora. I think both of those albums are masterpieces. But when Hybrid Theory comes on, it's like Popeye getting his spinach. I'll hear that, and I'll just go fucking superhuman. I'll feel like I can run through 5 brick walls. Point is, I feel strongly about this band, and when Chester Bennington tragically passed away, it was really rough, and it still is. It's extremely sad. He is a one-of-a-kind talent that will never be seen again. However, Linkin Park the band is back, and they have a new singer, and last week they performed a concert with her. Her name is Emily Armstrong. So they did a performance with Emily, they released a single with Emily, and Linkin Park is putting out an album with her as well. And there's more feelings and emotions here than in Inside Out 2. There has been a lot of discussion around it, and since the performance, a lot of information has come out that has changed the conversation from Linkin Park and even the new song they put out, and put it entirely on Emily Armstrong. Because she's got a lot of weird stuff that's gone on, to put it lightly. So, She's apparently a Scientologist and was actually at like a preliminary hearing for Danny Masterson as like a show of support for him. If you don't remember who that evil piece of shit is, let me jog your memory. Danny Masterson is the actor from That 70s Show who is a rapist in real life. He is a convicted rapist. And if that doesn't, reconnect some neural pathways in your brain, maybe you'll remember some of the drama that happened last year where some celebrities wrote character letters to the judge going over how great of a guy Danny Masterson is to try and help with some lenient sentencing for him. He's got a great smile. Well, he never raped me. Come on, have a heart. What are you doing? Have you seen That 70s Show? What an actor. And some of those celebrities include Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, who were glazing him like a donut. And then once all this information came out, they then released an apology video trying to, reduce the shrapnel they were getting hit with all the backlash from it. Not to just go off on that tangent, but that is still an infuriating thing that happened. Anyway, though, Emily Armstrong comes into the picture because she was called out by Cedric Bixler-Zavala, who brought to light the fact that she is a Scientology member who showed up to the Danny Masterson early hearing as part of a group, basically as like an intimidation tactic. It certainly isn't the best thing to be learning about this new vocalist who's replacing a beloved singer. And it's left fans very upset. I'm not going to dive too deep into everything that's come out about all of that. However, Emily Armstrong responded with a post about it where she said that she misjudged Danny Masterson. She, regrets doing that and doesn't support it. However, she didn't utter a peep about Scientology. That word was like Voldemort to her, which is really weird because it's not like that wasn't related, because that was kind of the whole reason that she was there, apparently. So I don't know why she wouldn't talk about that at all. I'm just kidding, pulling your leg. I know exactly why she wouldn't mention Scientology. Because she's probably afraid to, fearing for her fucking life if she pisses off the Scientologists. That's kind of the whole situation in a nutshell. It's by no means a thorough dive into all of it. I highly encourage all of you to read more from Cedric Bixler-Zavala about this situation and more information around it. And there's been a lot of good coverage on all of it. I just kind of wanted to give you like the bare bones breakdown of it. And I also kind of want to give you my perspective on Linkin Park moving forward with a new singer, even if it wasn't Emily Armstrong. I really do think it is fine for Linkin Park to continue as a band. I know a lot of people have said they should have changed their name or something. I disagree. I don't think there's anything wrong with carrying on the legacy of Linkin Park as a group. I think that is a totally understandable thing to do, especially if they all still have passion for the project. And I think everyone, including them, knows you can never replace Chester Bennington. And I think them hiring Emily Armstrong to do that is them understanding that it's an impossible task to replace a talent like that, a soul like that. So Emily Armstrong being their vocalist is very much not a Chester Bennington, impressionist or anything. She sounds completely different. During their live performance, she sounded fine. There were some moments where her voice would crack and sometimes it sounded a bit like karaoke, but overall, she did a good job with the songs as a singer. I did not like the single at all. That's just not my style of music that I really vibe with. That didn't have me wiggling my finger and salivating for the album to drop, unfortunately. And it's no secret, I didn't really like any of Linkin Park's albums after Minutes to Midnight. But even still, I've always had an appreciation of the band. I think there was a time when I was in college where I was really upset that the music they were putting out wasn't the music I was used to. But I've come to understand now, since I'm 30 years old, that you're just not going to be doing the same thing forever, and it's silly to expect that. So them changing their style so much over the years makes a lot of sense to me. It's just not a style that personally resonated with my taste, and there's nothing wrong with that. I also wanted to mention that I completely understand why Linkin Park wouldn't want a clone of Chester to replace him and move forward with this group. There is a group called Hybrid Theory, and they are a tribute band to Linkin Park. And their lead singer, his name is Ivo Rosario. There are times where he sounds almost indistinguishable from Chester Bennington. He is about as close as I think anyone could ever come to sounding like Chester. Even if someone gathered all the Dragon Balls and made a wish to just have Chester's voice, I still don't think it would sound the same. I think Ivo Rosario is as close to that as a mortal can possibly get. His screams are pretty much one-to-one sometimes. He has the raspiness and the grit to his clean vocals that only Chester could really do. Like, even when he was doing Given Up, which has Chester's longest continuous scream, Ivo matched not only the same tone of the scream, but also the same duration. He's an extraordinarily talented vocalist who sounds about as close to Chester as my two nuts are to the shaft of my cock. Like, it is close. And he also kind of looks like Chester. And I definitely don't think he should have been the replacement for Chester in Linkin Park. I, under no circumstances, think that would have been the right decision. I saw a lot of people flood Hybrid Theory's comment section saying, "How dare they choose Emily over Ivo? This makes no sense. Look at how close he sounds to Chester. He even looks like Chester's doppelganger. It looks like they were separated at birth. They're clones." I just don't think it would be a good idea. Just picture this. You lose your best friend in the world, and then a little while later, you find someone that looks and sounds just like them. I don't think you'd be like, "Oh, my new best friend. Perfect. I needed someone to come in here and fill these shoes." Like, it'd be extremely weird for the band, I would think, and it'd be extremely weird for fans, I would think. It certainly would be for me if I heard Linkin Park have a vocalist that sounds exactly like Chester. I think it'd almost be disrespectful in my eyes. So I do think them going for a different sounding vocalist for a different direction was the right call. I'm just not convinced Emily Armstrong was the right choice to fulfill that role. You know, I think you could have got a better quarterback. I feel like if the band knew all of the Scientology stuff, they probably wouldn't be super thrilled about that either, especially given everything that they've gone through. I'm not going to be, putting thoughts in their head, putting poop in their butt or anything. I don't know them personally. I'm sounding very parasocial here. But from everything I've ever learned about them, it feels like a lot of what I've learned about Emily Armstrong would be very much not something they'd be super happy about. And I don't think that she's the best possible vocalist they could have gotten or anything either. But anyway, what I do think is that Ivo Rosario and the Hybrid Theory tribute band is a really, really fucking fun group that is touring. And it's a group I really want to see. I never got to see Linkin Park live, and it's something that I really regret. A huge missed opportunity. I was really considering going to Revolution when it came to the Swamp Down here, but I got really nervous and cold feet about being around a lot of other people, so I ended up just pussying out and not going, and I never got to see them perform live. But seeing Hybrid Theory perform live will probably be about as close as I can ever get to experiencing a fraction of what an OG Linkin Park concert must have been like. And I think that's super cool. I am really happy that Hybrid Theory is such a talented group that does all of these tracks justice. And hopefully they'll come around the area at some point so I can go to one of those concerts. But I do not think Ivo Rosario would have been the right call to replace Chester Bennington in Linkin Park. I think it just would have been a little weird for the legacy of Linkin Park and Chester. Anyway, though, that's really about it. So yeah. I've resisted the urge for about a week to discuss this, but I can fight it no longer. This video keeps floating around on Twitter, and I need to opine on it. My opinion is like a demon that needs to be exorcised, and that's what I'm doing right now. What you're about to see is unacceptable, unholy, and inhumane. Its very existence makes me question whether or not there is a higher power out there, because if there was, why would they allow this to exist? A TikTok realtor recently posted a video taking us all on a walkthrough of the only place worse than hell, a house in Toronto. Now, I can't play the audio from the video because it was just popular DMCA-able music, so instead I'm going to be making my own music with my mouth, so enjoy my beatboxing. Ooh. The only music that should be playing during this video is circus music, because you'd have to be the stupidest fucking clown on the planet to pay almost $2 million for this. Now what you'll instantly notice is the house is extremely narrow. It looks like it's closing in on itself like a trap in Indiana Jones. The house is about as wide as 2 tissue boxes set side by side. If you put both of your arms out at the same time, you would touch both walls. It's like that obstacle in Ninja Warrior courses where you do like the spiders up the wall. You can do that in your own house for $2 million almost. Put that down. Just look at this shit. You're basically paying $2 million for a coffin. There's no space here at all. God forbid more than 2 people try and use this place at the same time. You'll have to take turns walking through the corridors or else you'll just bump into each other and get stuck. When you live in this house, you probably have to have something on your front door that says whether or not it's vacant or occupied, like an airplane bathroom. Now, if this was more reasonably priced and not $2 million, I really wouldn't have an issue with it. At the end of the day, a home's a home, right? So if it just had the right price point, I don't think there'd be any issues. It's still kind of goofy as a design, because it looks like it was designed to be some kind of supervillain secret lair behind a rotating bookshelf or something out of a cartoon, because it's so goddamn narrow. I can't really wrap my head around there. But you're paying $2 million to live in a place where you basically have to treat it like you're diving through caves, like squeezing around like a worm. Davy Jones haunts my home. Another complaint I have about this place is the actual design inside. There's an entire wing of this sarcophagus that's just pure orange. Orange wallpaper, orange floors, orange everything. Feeling like you're living at Nickelodeon Studios. You know, you walk in here and think you're gonna fucking get slimed. I think it all looks super ugly. And all the furniture here, like the TV, the stand, the couch, the chair, all of that, it looks like it's fitted here like Tetris pieces. Excuse me, dear. Can you pass the Yeah, that's right. $2 million and they put this shitter in the master bedroom. Now you can wake up hugging the toilet just like the good old college days. The toilet and shower in your master bedroom just inches away from your twin-sized bed because that's the biggest bed they could fit in this fucking house. For $2 million, you can quite literally shit where you sleep. It'd be better at this point just to go outside and squat. I'm sure my neighbors would understand. I love the audacity to include this outside area as if this is some kind of luxury home. This just seems like it's more for like public humiliation. Like you wake up in the morning, you stretch, you hit your head on the ceiling and bang your arms and legs on the side of the room. And then you walk outside with your morning coffee and the neighborhood's laughing at you and lobbing tomatoes at you because you're just like this fucking jester, a joke who paid $2 million for this piece of shit. I can't believe the shamelessness to charge $2 million for this piece of property. This has to be some kind of elaborate ruse or some kind of experiment. A way of diagnosing mental illness quickly. Like if someone bids on this house or, God forbid, outright buys it, they should be immediately locked up in an insane asylum. Or imprisoned for being completely reckless and irresponsible. They have to be a danger to society. There has to be some kind of screw loose to convince someone that this is worth $2 million. Or even haggling at the $2 million price range. But anyway, I couldn't help but just talk about this a little bit because it's so outrageous. That's about it. So yeah. There's few accomplishments on this planet that have the same level of prestige as climbing Mount Everest. For the longest time, it was just viewed as one of the most impressive things a person could do. You conquered nature, you defied the gods, and climbed this ridiculous mountain. A mountain that's claimed more souls than Shang Tsung. Hundreds of people have died going on expeditions up Mount Everest, so much so that they actually used their corpses as waypoints. Like the famous green boots, which is an unidentified body of a climber who had green boots that perished on the mountain, and they now use them as a fucking waypoint. That is as extreme as shit gets. That is Insano style. So, climbing Mount Everest still has a very powerful reputation. Though I will say, I feel like over the last few years, or maybe even like the last decade or so, its pedigree hasn't quite been the same. It's been perceived in a different way. Since it's so expensive to climb, a lot of people kind of view it now as more of like a rich person's getaway where they just go there to collect the Pokemon gym badge to say that they climbed Mount Everest. And really what they did is just kind of had the Sherpas do everything for them. So a lot of people don't view Mount Everest the same way when it comes to these expeditions, but that's still not to say that it's easy by any means. People still die there all the time. This year alone, there's already been quite a few deaths on the mountain. So it's not Weenie Hut Jr. mode by any means, but it is worth mentioning that a lot of people don't view climbing Mount Everest the same way because it's become so commercialized. But the reason I'm talking about it today is because yesterday, there was a story that came out about a man who was climbing Mount Everest and nearly died. But he was saved by a Sherpa. And after his life was saved by this fucking angel, a hero that literally carried this man on their back down the mountain to safety so they could be airlifted out, in response to that unbelievable action, the guy started thanking his sponsors, and only his sponsors. He never thanked the Sherpa that saved him, or really any of the Sherpas that helped save his life and perform this incredible rescue. He only had his sponsors to thank, at least until public backlash started mounting, and then he very quickly said thanks to the people that actually saved his life. It's just crazy. So let me go over this story with you because it's a wacky one. So this was posted on Instagram from the Sherpa that found and helped save this man's life. I hope I don't fuck up the name pronunciation. I think it's Gelje Sherpa. But basically, they were on an expedition, and they had a client, and noticed that this guy was about to go meet the big man upstairs. He was on death's door, about to get a game over screen, and decided to cancel the trip and focus instead on rescuing him and saving his life. So, they strapped the man to Gelje Sherpa's back and began the 6-hour journey downward in order for him to be airlifted out. He is literally carrying this guy on his back. This is some shit out of Death Stranding. Now, of course, this wasn't the only Sherpa that helped here. There was a lot of people that came to the aid and saved this man's life. And he had nothing to say about his saviors here. Instead, he immediately went to thanking his sponsors. His statement was, "I shit you not, I am alive today because I had the best and dedicated partners, the 14th Peaks Expedition Co. and Global Rescue Inns." On his own Instagram post, this is all he had to say. How important is rescue team and heli rescue on Everest expedition? Believe me, it's very important. I'm alive today because I had the best and dedicated partners, the 14th Peaks Expedition Co. and Global Rescue. Everest in previous years, especially in 2022, was good, but in 2023 it was tough and taking many lives. He literally doesn't even mention the people that actually saved him, and instead just takes this as like a sponsorship opportunity to try and like help make his brand partners happy. Like, oh guys, look, the most recent Everest expedition went tits up. I almost died. But thanks to the Ridge Wallet and fucking Blue Apron, I'm alive here today. So, all's good in the world, and I can't wait to get back out there again with my brand partners. As the light was leaving my eyes, my vision fading, I thought to myself, I can't afford to die here, because I've got Raid Shadow Legends to be playing at home. Damn it. And that's the only thing that got me through that expedition at the top of Everest. That's the only reason I made it back in one piece. That's just fucking crazy to me. There's no shot he just forgot to mention the people that saved him. There's no way you could forget who saved your fucking life. This was a conscious decision to not even mention them for some reason, and instead just mention your sponsors. It blows my mind. Now, like I mentioned, a lot of people started blowing up at this guy, saying, why aren't you mentioning, Gelje Sherpa and everyone that helped save you? And eventually he made a post where he thanked all the Sherpas that had a role in his rescue, which does include Gelje Sherpa. But the fact that they had to, pry that thank you out of him is so baffling. They had to squeeze this guy like a tube of Go-Gurt in order for him to just acknowledge the people that actually saved him on that mountain. And Gelje Sherpa seems like a saint because even after all of that, Gelje just said, thank you, hope you're recovering well. So he really just cared that the guy was alive and, healthy after all of this. So he is a fucking saint. Because the man whose life was saved got an entire press tour out of this. He went on television, he had tons of posts. This was a big story. and he didn't acknowledge anyone that saved him, which seems like such a slap in the face of the people that risked their lives to save his. And even still, they just seem happy that they were able to help and that this guy is now alive. Now, I want to show another clip that kind of goes over it a bit more. This is from CNN when they covered this story earlier this week.
The guide was climbing with someone else up Mount Everest when he spotted the climber in distress, clinging to a rope and shivering. Temperatures in that area can drop to negative 86 degrees Fahrenheit. The Sherpa wrapped the climber up, put him on his back, and carried him down, descending nearly 2,000 feet.
In places where it was rockier, we could not drag him. We had to carry him on our backs with difficulty.
How do you not thank them? I can't get over that. This is not something that you just, slipped your mind, happy to be alive, but I'm even happier my sponsors are still behind me. They got my back. Oh, and then, of course, also some people saved me. Like, I don't know how you don't thank them. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit because I thought it was kind of a wild story, and that's about it. So yeah. Yesterday I made a video making jokes at a man named Brian Taylor, who's an Australian sports commentator who went out of his way to insult an esports team at a football game for no reason. And now all 5 of Brian Taylor's fervent fans on Facebook are mad at me. So they've got their pitchforks out. They've rallied the entire anti-vaccination group of moms there to target me and get mad at me, all because I insulted their hero with some jokes. And I also want to talk about Reddit because the video got posted there. And Reddit has to be the most humorless place on the fucking planet. Let me make this clear for all enlightened atheist Redditors out there, you euphoric beings. I just posted that video to make jokes. The guy was being a douchebag, so, that's ripe for making jokes about. If you're gonna dish out jokes and be mean, you should be able to take some jokes as well, as should your fans. It was not there as some type of moral high ground where I'm trying to rally a team of elite gamers to show Brian that he's a bad person and going to hell for insulting gamers. No, I just wanted to make jokes. I pointed out why he's a douchebag, and then I made jokes at him and about him. It's not supposed to be some thought-provoking piece that rattles your very soul and makes you self-reflect on yourself. I just wanted to make some fucking jokes. Meanwhile, Reddit's like, oh, this guy's such a hypocrite. Yeah, Brian was insulting those guys, but this guy's no better. He's insulting Brian. Oh, disgusting. Jokes? What do you mean, jokes? On the internet in 2019, isn't that illegal? This man should be thrown in jail for making jokes. He should be in the slammer right now. I don't get it. How dumb is Reddit overall? Or not even dumb. I think it's just blatantly ignorant to just social shit in general. I think it's very clear I was just making jokes. It wasn't supposed to be some type of moral piece. Yeah, I pointed out he's a douchebag. Yeah, I pointed out it's rude. It is. And then I made jokes. It's not like I was there to be better than Brian. I just wanted to make some fucking jokes. And I think Facebook understood that. They at least knew it was there for jokes, not some type of moral piece. But let me give you a little background on the Facebook thing. So Brian Taylor's got a Facebook page, a fan page. It's not his page. And it started out as a satire piece to make fun of Brian Taylor originally. And then it got hijacked by people that actually like Brian Taylor. So now it has this identity crisis where sometimes it supports him and then other times it just takes the dick right out of him. So it's got this weird dichotomy going on, this weird civil war, and it seems I've united them as a common enemy like the raid boss. So now they've all come together to insult me. And I can't tell if it's ironic or not, and I don't really care because it's pretty goddamn entertaining. So Brian Taylor, the owner of the account, posted this, where he calls me a neck-bearded virgin who attacks BT. It's a bit of a stretch. I can tell the person who owns this account's probably in like mid-30s, because they must have just read neck-bearded virgin on like an archived 4chan source trying to catch up with like internet lingo and shit. I don't have a neck beard. I don't even grow hair down here except for like rogue pubic hairs that'll pop up here and there, which look fucking disgusting. And if I did have a neck beard growing in, I would immediately nair that off or like go to laser hair removal because I just can't stand the look of neck beards. I'm sure some people can pull them off. I can't. And I know neck beard's supposed to just be a general insult, but in this case it doesn't really apply. Virgin, I'm not a virgin, but if you want to make me a virgin in your own headcanon lore to jerk off to, I'm totally fucking fine with that as well. But anyway, the people, he posted this, and then the fans or the people shitposting for Brian Taylor hopped on board, and there's some bangers in there. So the senile owner of this page says, odds on this bastard living in his parents' basement at 30, and the fans of this page are so fucking dumb, the response to this was, $1.02. How do you even dress yourself in the morning? That's not how odds work. Are you fucking kidding me? How fucking dumb are you? I'm not gonna sit here and be your 3rd grade teacher and teach you how this works, but god damn. I want you to go through this out loud in your head, looking in the mirror at some point. Someone asks you, hey, what are the odds that this horse wins the horse race? Your response, $1.02. Does that sound right to you? Or if you want to do it in a more social situation, what are the odds I get real fucked up at this party and bang this girl that I've been interested in? $1.02 odds. Does that sound right? No, it doesn't. You need to rehearse a little bit here. Holy shit. And that's what most of the comments are. There's also this really cute, innocent one. Is anyone else Googling lolly porn? This poor guy. This guy's obviously probably a middle-aged father. He doesn't know what that is, and he's in for a real rude awakening. Or he's gonna find something very sexually evil within himself. It's one or the other, really. Could go either way. I really just don't have a whole lot to say about the comments on here or the beef between Brian Taylor and I, because I really think most of these are ironic. I just really, it feels that way. It feels like they're all in on the joke, and some of them are really sad that I almost have to convince myself that it's ironic at some point. Some of them I just plain out, just outright can't understand, like this one. He doesn't look like he plays any sports. Clearly an uneducated man who's got no idea. You bagged a Coleman in 86 kicking 100 snags. BT, goodness gracious me. Don't know what's going on in the brain department here. I understood maybe half of those words. I have no fucking clue what bagging a Coleman 86 100-foot snag proton electron kinesiology power stone loop-de-doop and pull is. So a lot of it's just lost in translation on these. I can't even tell if they're insulting me or not because it just doesn't make sense. I don't know the sport. Then there's some real internet tough guys like, man, if he said this to Brian, I bet Brian would rip his goddamn tits off. I know I would if I ever saw this guy saying that shit. It's jokes. You need to have some thicker skin. I understand you're on your Facebook safe space, but it's a fucking joke. It's not really a call to action or violence. It's just making a fucking joke. And then there's this post right here comparing me to this character. And that's fair. I'll give you that. That's fair, honestly. You've got me on that one. Of the entire 1,000 comments, that's probably the best one. And really, I just don't have a lot to say about these because, again, I really feel like most of them are just in on the joke. So, Brian Taylor, this isn't his page. He hasn't responded. He probably won't. He seems like the kind of guy that can probably take a joke. He doesn't need limp-dicked Facebook fan pages fighting his battles for him. I'm sure he can handle it himself if he wants to. Or, there's a chance that he understands it's a goddamn joke. Reddit's the one that actually got under my skin just because of these fucking fart-sniffing, humorless assholes acting like they're the moral internet police and you're not allowed to make jokes at any point for any reason whatsoever. Like, you can criticize the joke saying they're not good. That's totally fine. I get that. But to say that, you know, it's so hypocritical, jokes, that doesn't make any sense. That's just stupid. I hate that. So Reddit's the one that I actually felt more offended by than the Brian Taylor fan page that went out of their way to make a beef out of it, and I can't even tell if it's genuine or not, but either way it was entertaining. So that's about it. Brian Taylor was still a douchebag in that interview. He might be a good guy in real life. I don't know. That's it. See ya. There's a cartoon called Bluey that's probably one of the most popular children's properties at the moment. At least I think so, based on everything I see. It's hard to know for sure because what I see from Bluey is people fighting about it, like on Twitter all the time. There's like this constant war raging about Bluey and adults watching Bluey or whatever. And I just don't really know anything about the show other than it's a very popular kids program. But anyway, it's become so popular that now people have started to do their own little like Bluey meet and greets where they'll buy a costume from wish.com, throw it on and say, hey, come on over, we're doing a big Bluey event at our local business. It's our restaurant, and Bluey stopped in and said, man, that's delicious, so why don't you all come in and say hi to Bluey? And even just throwing these last-minute, low-effort Bluey parties ends with thousands of people flooding in the doors. It's become like an infinite money glitch. And for one restaurant, it actually turned into a bit of a catastrophe, kind of like a smaller-scale Willy Wonka experience. All they said is, hey, we're doing a little Bluey party at our hot dog place. And people went ballistic, showing up and like driving hours out of their way just to be there. And what they got was a dude in a Bluey onesie. And it didn't even cover his face. It was just the guy with his normal face out. He had like a beard and everything. And apparently kids started like fucking hysterically crying in disappointment. And the parents were shaking their fists like, how dare you? You've ruined Bluey, you using his name in vain. This is fucking despicable, blasphemous even. You hear about the Las Vegas restaurant that has angered parents and upset children after hosting an event that promised a meet and greet with Bluey that went horribly wrong. Is that what that other chatter was talking about? They called it like the Bluey Doomsday or whatever? Is that what is happening with Bluey? I keep seeing Bluey as like some kind of drama talking point online, and I know nothing about it. All I know is it's a very, very popular kids program. What's happening? Has he been hijacked? Being exploited by demons or something out here? Let's see, Bluey meet and greet. Did he show up smoking a cigarette? Like what? I don't understand. Kids and parents were angry after underwhelming Bluey event in Vegas. Oh, so it's like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and the Unknown then. Instead, they got a long line and a man in a onesie. Thanks for ruining my 3-year-old's day, one person wrote on Facebook. A Dirt Dog restaurant promised screenings of the Australian kids' TV series, face painting, games, giveaways, and snacks, as well as the opportunity to meet Bluey and friends. But when parents took their kids to the free event at the restaurant, part of a national hot dog chain on Saturday, they weren't impressed with what they saw. Timu Bluey costume. It's a guy in Bluey pajamas. It's not even an actual character costume. Well, I don't know a whole bunch about Bluey, but this looks pretty good to me. They just asked one of their employees to put this on. They found it at Walmart. It just said, rip it.
Bluey they expected was not who greeted them. On the left, this is a photo a parent took at an event with the popular cartoon character Bluey.
Yeah, but I don't know. They're both pretty good.
The kids were distraught. Some kids were crying. Some kids were upset, crying in their parents' shoulders.
3,000 people RSVP'd on the
Yeah, but like, why though? Why would they be crying like, oh fuck, he's got a beard, it's not Bluey, no! Oh, get me out of here, Mom!
Hey, I drove 1 hour just to see a grown man in PJs. Other parents defended Dirt Dog. It's a free event and a risk you take.
Yeah.
My son loved it.
My son had a great time. He came to see Bluey, and he got fucking Louie wearing the costume that we found out in the dumpster. What more can you ask for? He was such a good guy. He even stopped and talked to my son.
Taj Wilder of Dirt Dog broke down their side. She says, first of all,
that food looks good though.
Hotspot with a hip-hop edge. Expected a few dozen.
Bluey was big. I just didn't realize how big he was. The biggest takeaway.
You and me both.
Go all out. You want to do stuff for the community. Just make sure you do it at the highest quality.
Dirt Dog.
They seem to have a really good attitude about it. They seem sweet. They seem super sweet. Isn't Bluey a she? I know nothing about Bluey. I have no fucking clue. Bluey's popular as fuck. I know Bluey's huge. I'm very well aware. I see drama about Bluey all the time. There's like 2 different camps. Like I guess like Bluey adults or something. So people that watch Bluey without kids, and the people that say it's weird to watch Bluey without kids, and they're always butting heads on Twitter. But I don't know anything about Bluey. So like bronies, I guess kind of. But I don't think they're watching Bluey sexually. You have to remember, bronies during their heyday, they masturbated to My Little Pony. I don't think Bluey's to that level. I think it's people that just really like the cartoon. I think that's all it is. It's not, I don't think it's sexual. Maybe it is. Like I said, I don't know anything about it. Only what I see on Twitter all the time. Do all bronies watch it for sexual gratification? Not all of them, but that was like the peak of it. You don't remember the, what was it, Sparkle Dash Cum Jar? Or Rainbow Dash Cum Jar? Like there's, most of it was sexual for bronies back in the day. Also, RIP to bronies. They have gone extinct. We were actually just talking about it on the podcast not long ago. Bronies completely fizzled out. They don't exist anymore. There's a woman on a podcast stating she indeed gets off to the dad on Bluey. I would look that up later. I'll listen to it. Why not? I'm already deep into the Bluey rabbit hole. Let's see what all the hype's about. Is Bluey's dad some kind of sex icon or something? What's this about? I mean, I'll listen to it, but it doesn't sound real. Like, I don't think she's actually sexually attracted to Bluey's dad. What the fuck is Bluey's dad's name? I'll address him by name. Put some respect on him. His name is Bandit. Okay, yeah, I don't think she's actually touching herself to Bandit. What the fuck? Why did this come up? Trigger warning, miscarriage episode of Bluey. Bluey tackles miscarriages? What in tarnation?
Is it the dog
cartoon?
show?
Dog show?
I put it on for my dog when I leave.
The dog dad, I would fucking fuck his brains out. The dog dad, he's funny, he's kind, he's smart.
He's a dog?
I have never, yes,
Okay.
he's a dog, and I have never been more attracted to anybody in my life.
Really?
And it is a cartoon dog.
Yeah, this definitely doesn't sound real.
He looks like a dog version of Phil Dunphy.
I've masturbated to him.
Really?
I have masturbated to him.
Like, I'm so curious though. Is he a cartoon?
He's a cartoon.
Were you?
What do you mean? You were just looking at it. Of course he's a cartoon in there. Would it be better if they brought out a real dog? Like, I think it's, like, both are bad, but I'd rather it be the cartoon dog, honestly. What the fuck? She's like, hold on, wait, let me throw you a bone here. It's a real dog that you're masturbating to, right? That's the fucking, you're lose-lose there.
You imagining you two together? Were you just reading to his personality?
I was reading to him.
Thank you for clarifying.
Voice, though. I was also reading to his voice.
Can you play a clip of his voice? Wait, what does Bluey sound like? Interesting. It just sounds like she was making some over-the-top silly shit. Like, I highly doubt she's done that. Maybe she has. I'm not her dad. I have no fucking clue. What was his name again? Bandit? Bluey Bandit Fart? Man, like I said, I don't know enough about, like, the Bluey fandom, but that sounded a lot like My Little Pony Bronies right there. Are you telling me the first thing that comes up for Bluey Bandit is Bluey Bandit Fart? I don't know what the Out of Bed podcast is typically about, but man. Dog fucking, huh? Interesting. Do you remember that clip where the brony is at a My Little Pony convention and he goes up to the Q&A panel and asks the cast members about the sexual undertones of the show? Oh, God, yeah, I remember that. Oh, yeah. Damn. That is old. That's like, I think that might even be over 10 years old now, yeah. Like I said, bronies went extinct. They didn't even get, like, replaced by anything. They didn't, like, venture off into other fandoms. Bronies just vanished. I don't know what happened. Maybe there was, like, a great rapture or something, and they all went to, like, the My Little Pony Rainbow in the Sky. I don't really know, but they just aren't around anymore. Here's a membership, Carter. Have you seen the video of that brony who confessed to his dad on the phone that he jerks off to My Little Pony? He said it's called clopping dad. Is it real? I don't think so. And I don't think this is where the term clopping came from.
My friends are bronies, and I actually make animations and art for the brony community.
Man, speaking of extinction, do you remember Skype? Jesus Christ. I'm glad we evolved past Skype. Actual, just official malware.
Why you always underscored your fucking computer whenever I walk in? That's why you always turned off your monitor?
That's another thing. I kind of watch porn relating to ponies.
What?
See, he's laughing about it. It's not real. That is still a crazy thing to do with your dad, though. Dad, I'm gonna give you a call real quick and just go with it.
What? It's called clopping.
What? What are you? What? Are you fucking with me?
No, it's called clopping, Dad.
Oh my God, there is no way.
It's called clopping, Dad. It's something every brony does, okay?
It's a rite of passage. You don't get it.